Hello and welcome to ShowPod. I'm Mr. P here with the other geeky guys, Mr. Dave and Mr. Jethro.
Right.
I'm laughing because just before we came on, we were just talking about dates.
I haven't been on it. I haven't been on in a while.
Yeah, no. Not those kind of dates.
Join the club, all of us, to be honest.
But not those types of dates.
No,
we're talking about.
no.
And not the fruit either. I'm guessing.
No.
No.
I never really liked those.
Yeah,
Actually.
do you
No, I
like
don't
them?
really like dates.
No.
No, just the date. You know, Americans write the date the other way round to we do.
Yes.
The opposite way round. And you were going to make a comment about it because we were just laughing about the fact that in everyday life, whenever Mr. Jethro needs to come up with an abbreviation for something, it's like it comes out with this long way of doing it. It's like, oh, we'll do the date backwards, and then we'll have like an F stroke whatever, and we'll code it blue, and then I'm sat there thinking, why don't we just number it 1 to 100? It's like, oh yeah, that's a better idea.
Yeah, like we're talking about days here, not solving a mathematical
That's
scary
just
puzzle.
it. That would be solving an equation to find out which sheet you're actually looking at.
Yeah.
You know how Americans put the month first, and in Britain we put the day first. I think both are wrong.
Go on.
I think it should be year, month, day, and then if you want to put a time on, hour, minute, second. Therefore, if you're going to sort A to Z,
It's descending in biggest to smallest.
Exactly, and not just like the first of every month coming on. I don't know, it just makes it easier.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that is the superior date format.
Not a bad suggestion, I suppose.
What do you think? Put your comments in the suggestions in the comments in the suggestions. You know what I mean. Tell us what you think. Is Mr. Jethro right? Actually, there's logic to that.
There is logic.
See.
I'm not saying you're right. I'm just saying there's logic to it.
No, that's high praise coming from you, isn't it? What do you think, Mr. Dave?
Yeah, I think it's we can definitely see the logic to that, and it might not be a bad way of doing it.
So I haven't quite converted you, have I?
Not 100%.
No, okay.
My only issue with doing it your way is if you wanted to write it, it's a long way of writing it. If you just need to write, what if you just need to write the date and the month?
Well, you could
You
do
just write
that.
the date and the month, I suppose. Yeah, it's only when you have to write it fully, I suppose.
What that has to do with what we're talking about today?
I don't really know.
No,
nothing really.
nothing.
Nothing really.
Have you got anything to report, Mr. P?
What from this
Anything,
last couple of weeks?
interesting?
I'm trying to
Anything
think.
you've been doing or watching or?
Well,
Researching.
people watching at home are a little bit ahead. Obviously, we're filming this. This will come out a little bit later. But we've just watched the Northern Lights has been seen all over the world, pretty much, and especially here in the UK. I didn't see any of it. I missed it.
I did go out to look a couple of times, but there's too much light pollution near me and just couldn't see it.
I didn't really realise what was happening till afterwards. And all of a sudden there was all these pictures online. I'm like, I didn't get any.
But I did wonder though the next day when I saw a lot of people walking around because it was nice and sunny on the Friday or the Saturday, whatever it was. And there's lots of blokes wandering around with just shorts and no shirts on, and there's been a massive solar storm, and the Northern Lights have been seen all over the planet, and I'm thinking, does that mean the radiation's up as well? I'm not sure that would be going shirtless for 6 hours in the sun during a massive solar storm.
Well, to be fair, I didn't know it was happening, but I ended up seeing it completely on accident. I was with some mates going up to a miners monument, and it was a really good view, on a clear day. I mean, you could do pull the trees grew, but you could actually see Lincoln Cathedral from it. But yeah, I just went there, and people were like, oh yeah, you're going to see Northern Lights. I'm like, the what? Northern Lights, they're...
So you just happened to go to a fantastic beauty spot with no light pollution, which was a really ideal place to go.
Yeah.
Jethro's thinking, you can't see them from here.
And it was a complete fluke.
Complete fluke, yeah.
That's
Look,
the way
you
we
get
roll.
sometimes.
And very, very briefly, we have just had Eurovision.
Yes.
Which was very interesting this year, a little bit of controversy.
As always.
We obviously like to see where the UK come. We never come near the top. Not really. I mean, the other year Sam Ryder won. Well, okay, Ukraine technically won, but that was probably sympathy votes. And I know I'm going to get comments for that. But we hosted then the following year, and it was the first time in years we'd come anywhere near the top. We came second place.
Yeah, it was good.
And it was fairly close, to be fair. So I'm just going to count that as a win. I'm going to get hate mail. They're going to write letters, Dave. But yeah, no, this year we did as normal, which was near the bottom.
Yeah, pretty crappy.
It's one of those where if you try and end up on the left-hand side of the board, it's good. But we didn't. We got nothing on the public vote. I don't know what we've done to pee off Europe this year. I mean, we've given support to Ukraine. We've been pretty good to everybody this year, really, in Europe as a country.
Yeah, what have we done to annoy Europe this year? I like that phrasing. This year.
I should just point out at this point, we're talking about it like the song didn't matter, which, quite frankly, if you watch Eurovision, you'll realise that the song really doesn't matter at all. It's not a song contest, it is the Eurovision popularity contest, pretty much.
Or political contest.
Sometimes. I mean, yes, the song does have an impact, of course it does, and the staging and the lyrics. And I didn't really think there was any fantastically strong performers this year, to be fair. Not really that jumped out.
No.
One, two, maybe a little bit more than the others, but it was
a poor year.
I think it was one of the weaker years. But hey, you know what? We still watch it every year. We love the show.
It's good fun.
And we do like to see where the UK come, and hopefully we keep. You see it go up a little bit with the judges' votes, and it comes down with the public vote.
And you just to put your hopes are dashed on as the programme goes on.
By that point, though, you are completely pissed.
Yeah,
so it's fine. That's what you do with Eurovision. But anyway, yes, that's pretty much me for this fortnight.
I've started watching House.
Excellent.
We converted in.
Recommendations on both sides of the sofa.
Well, I had homework from Mr. Jethro to finish watching the whole series, 8 series of House, before a certain date, so we can do our ShowPod episode on House, which is going to be coming up, and I'm nearly there. I'm about 4 or 5 episodes away, if that. So I'm so close. So that's going to be good.
That's good. Yeah.
See, and as a fan of someone who was like recommended, because I've recommended to you to watch House before you went and saw it, and. Like occasionally you recommend something to someone and it doesn't really vibe with them, and that's like fair enough. It doesn't always happen, but
win some, you lose some.
Yeah, exactly. But to recommend something to someone and like it really resonates with them, that's a nice feeling.
I'm enjoying House. I think it's a fantastic idea. But we'll talk about that another time. I was about to start talking about it. We'll do that another time, because today we're going to talk about something else, and I'm so excited about this. Again,
you're always excited about it.
It's a Mr. P favourite.
It is, and I've been wanting to do this for ages. Me and Dave spoke about this very briefly in one we did back in our Tea Break podcast days, talking about 80 shows. Now, in our show pod, we've talked Knight Rider, we've talked Airwolf. It's time to finish off the 80s trinity, which is, of course, let's say Airwolf.
Yes, we've done Knight Rider.
18 Knight
We've
Rider.
done 18.
Airwolf's the one we're doing.
The one
yes.
My brain just went, hang on, you've already said that. Don't worry about it, it's fine. So we're doing Airwolf. I'm so excited, I'm getting all the words wrong.
Slow it down a little bit.
Yes, Airwolf. Okay. Well, you were listening to our theme. We were just humming the Airwolf theme, as you do. And I must just say, actually, we're joking about it, but what a fantastic 80s sound.
Yeah.
What a theme.
Definitely up there, one of the classics, all-time classics, isn't it?
Well,
TV themes.
Some friends we know recently made a comment, we mentioned Airwolf, and they said that they really didn't like the show at all, but they loved the theme tune.
Yeah.
I got very offensive and defensive at that point and said, look, you've got to like Airwolf, not offensive so much, but you've got to like Airwolf, it's good, it's got this.
See, that hurts you, doesn't it? You recommend something to somebody and they're like, I don't like it. It's like,
And the first question is like, why?
Why?
Why don't you like
get
it?
all defensive. No, because there's plenty of times I've recommended stuff to you and you'd be like, no, I don't like it. And it still hurts. Still hurts.
Right, you're an idiot, moving on.
So let me just explain very briefly what Airwolf actually is. So Airwolf is the name of a helicopter that was built and developed by the US government, and obviously a TV show. It's not an actual project. We haven't actually said that yet, have we? And in the pilot, it gets stolen by its creator. And he goes off to use it to basically just blow things up so he can live in a life of luxury with women and nice food and all the rest of it in Libya. And the idea is whenever he wants anything, he asks the Libyan government, "Does I want one of these?" And they say, "All right, blow up this fighter jet," and he goes off and blows it up.
Seems a strange place to go and live the life of luxury in Libya, doesn't it? Most people choose like Hawaii, don't they?
Yes, when you pinch a big piece of American hardware,
Yeah.
they kind of want it back.
Yeah. So I suppose you've got to hide it
somewhere, and you're going to go somewhere where it's very difficult for them to get to you. However, they did in fact have an ace in the hole. One of the old test pilots of Airwolf, called Stringfellow Hawk, played by the fantastic Jan-Micheal. He played this role very well.
Yeah.
You probably know him from what was the other shows in film? It's filmed in Australia, like a surfing film. He was quite big in that. I can't remember the name of it now. And he was also in the film Damnation Alley with George Peppard.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. And basically, they hope to go and fetch it. So he ropes his best mate in, Dominic Santini, played by the absolutely fabulous Ernest Borgnine. Did a lot of war films, famous for doing All Quiet on the Western Front. I've lost my train of thought. My train of thought was not a train, it's a helicopter. Airwolf. Good, yes. Ernest Borgnine, Dominic, he owns an air charter company they use as a cover. Because eventually what happens is Hook gets Airwolf back and says, "I'm not giving it back to the government, I'm going to keep it myself. Unless you find my brother," because his brother was missing in action during the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
So he said, "Find my brother and you can have it back." So the series basically is the firm, which is the sort of wing of the CIA that is this covert intelligence agency that helped build it and develop it. He says to them, "Find my brother and you can have it back." So they have to look for his brother, but they also have to try and get Airwolf back. To coin a phrase, to quote from the show, that's the way the game's played.
Yeah.
The deputy director of the agency that built it, the firm, is Michael Colsmith Briggs III, codenamed Archangel, played by Alex Cord. Now he's the one that sends Hawk to fetch it, and he kind of sympathises with him because he's like, "Well, look, if they give it us back, we're never going to be able to use it anyway because it's a weapon. And when it was first developed, the firm could make weapons, but since then things changed, and now the firm's not allowed to make tactical weapons. So they'd have to give it over to the Department of Defence anyway. So Archangel kind of sort of backhander sort of says, "Keep it. We have to look for your brother. I can give you help and advice on what other agencies are doing to try and find it. But you could fly it for us."
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the basis of the series to start with. Now, I must admit, this helicopter looks amazing. It was a modified Bell 222, and they painted it white on the top, black on top, white underneath, black on top. They had some extra fiberglass bits added to make it look a bit more futuristic, but pretty much they didn't need to do much to it because the Bell 222 is a lovely helicopter anyway.
It's got kind of an orca whale look about it almost.
Once they painted it up, it was built and modified and owned by Jetcopters Incorporated, and that's where they filmed the series. So they actually used their hangars to film it, which makes sense. And in quite a lot of shots, you can actually see where they've tried to cover up the Jetcopter sign with Santini Air. There's lots of little goofs like that throughout the show, but because the show's so good, I let them all go.
As you do.
As you do.
As you do.
So each episode, basically, there's some mission they have to go on, or they get pulled into a mission. Now, later on in the series, they try and make it a bit more family orientated, so they nip off to get Airwolf to solve a more non-government issue. Even if it's just bullying farmers, they'll get Airwolf to come and sort out, because the guy that's bullying them has an aeroplane, of course. It's some of it's very cheesy in the vein of Knight Rider and the A-Team.
Of its time. I suppose it was one of those shows, wasn't it, where, with the, like you said, with the Trinity, with A-Team and Knight Rider, where you got like the vehicle was almost like a character in the show.
Oh yeah, they nicknamed it the Lady, which is code because they can't say Airwolf on phones or anything because it's being tracked. They want to find it, so they call it the Lady. And let's get the Lady, or we need to take the Lady for a spin or whatever. Which is silly because they use the same phrase all the time, so you would know that was what it is. But again, we let that go. And talking about other shows, obviously in the A-Team, we've had Lance Legault, who we spoke about in the other episode, where he plays Colonel Decker, who's after the A-Team. He's also, I think Lance Legault's already guest starred in Knight Rider as well, which is one episode, I think, but I can't remember what it was. But of course, he is in this as well. He's in Airwolf. He guest stars in Airwolf at the end of series 1, last episode of series 1, and also an episode in series 3. Or end of series 2, series 3, I think it is. It's called Sweet Butchers. Anyway.
You found there was a lot of actors from that time that did go in those different shows, didn't they? Kept popping up in
the bad
roles.
guys as well.
Yeah.
In fact, another one for you, Dave. This is really for the Did You Know section later, the trivia, isn't it? But
you're going to spoil us now, are you?
No, I'm going to keep it. I'm going to save it.
Okay.
I just realised. So what I was going to say though, and this is trivia, but I'll say this one because I started. Lance Legault is the guy that narrates the opening. And I said in the A Team, it was John Ashley was the producer who does it in 1972. In this one, and I think I said on our promo that we put out to advertise this show pod, there is a thing that comes up and it says this briefing is from IFA file 6-7. That's Lance Legault saying that.
Nice.
And he kind of gives the audience a little bit of an intro into what the series is about within that little briefing. They stopped doing it in the end because they tried to move it away from government missions and make it more family orientated, mainly to get more ratings, which didn't work. But anyway, so basically, Airwolf looks like a very expensive executive helicopter, but when activating its combat mode, guns would pop out and it would become obviously this weapon. It can also, we're getting technical now.
Almost like the Bond cars in a way, isn't it? Where you've got
exactly
a
like the
sleek,
Bond cars.
high-tech vehicle that you can use just as a vehicle, but when the need comes, you can put the spinning spikes out the tyres, you can put the oil or the smoke out the back, you can put the missiles on the front. Yeah, it's a similar sort of thing.
In the first episode, Deborah Pratt, who is married to Donald P. Belisario, who created the show. She's in the show and she's one of the employees, and she's explaining to one of the senators what Airwolf is. I'm not going to get this exactly right, but I'll do my best to get it quite similar. She says something along these lines. He says, what you're telling me is there's a twin-engine jet chopper. And she says, you can express it in those terms, but this jet chopper can deploy these two, and she points on the screen, additional turbines, which will propel it from up to Mach 1 from 0 to 65,000 feet. That's 9 point something seconds after ignition. So from 9 pounds after ignition, it will hit Mach 1 from 0 to 65,000 feet. She then spins through all the, it's got this armament, and so on. Got a big compartment to the back with computers and scanners. Nowadays, most military things have all that anyway. But at the time, when this came out, what was it, 84? This was cutting edge. It used CDs, compact discs, which had only just come out.
Yeah.
It was high tech. It had scanners, infrared, and all the rest of it. It was, you're talking like Blue Thunder is always mirrored. Although I've seen Blue Thunder and Airwolf's better. And so it was, but eventually they looked at it. It looked too fantastic to really blend in anyway. So you do get a lot of episodes where, and let's face it, they always put little McDonnell Douglases or Hughes helicopters against it for the most part. So you get Airwolf come up on the screen and it just looks impressive anyway. So I've talked a lot. Just to rest my throat for a moment. I know you've not really watched Airwolf a lot, but what are any memories you have of Airwolf?
For me, I remember it being on, when I was a kid, between sort of 5 and 8 years old, something like that. Maybe I can't remember the exact year. I can certainly remember sitting down and watching it with parents and stuff. So it's kind of one of those shows that was there, that was talked about in the playground, that was in the, the ether. It was a big show and a big hit at the time, I would say.
Not really a children's show though, to be fair. I mean,
but there was a lot of shows like that though that weren't really for younger kids. They were more like teens or adults, but everybody watched them, whether you were 5 years old or 80 years old. You don't find that so much with shows these days.
No,
very often that they can hit all that demographic.
I don't remember any swearing in Airwolf. I don't think they swore. I think they tried to get it on prime time.
Yeah.
There was dying, but it wasn't gruesome.
Implied violence, was it?
A lot of it.
Right.
You'd see helicopters blow up and things, obviously, and you knew people were in them.
Yeah.
But you actually never saw them blow up.
Little way of blood.
Yeah, a little bit, and occasionally you have someone shot and die. But it wasn't gruesome. It was more heartfelt. For example.
Right.
So you kind of get away with it.
Yeah. The thing I like about this show is it was a completely different tone to anything else that was out there. Knight Rider was all fun and games and almost slapstick sometimes. The A-Team, again, was quite funny, comical, slapstick. You laugh out loud at it. You didn't laugh out loud at Airwolf.
Airwolf was a bit darker, wasn't it?
It was. They tried to get away from that, but I liked it darker. I thought that's what it should be. And for me, and I've always said this to people when I've talked about this trinity of shows, for me, and go with me on this journey, this one, to me, seemed the most realistic. Not specifically the abilities of the helicopter, okay? Because let's face it, if you take the abilities of Kit out of the equation, going around in a car solving crimes is way more realistic than a helicopter. But if you actually put the abilities back into the helicopter, what does Airwolf actually do that we can't do now? Fine, it can't go. You can't get a helicopter that can go Mach 1, right? So Mach 1 is the speed of sound, and that's 331 meters per second.
Yeah.
They go fast, but they don't go that fast. You can't disengage your rotors, activate boosters, and fly like a jet, right? In a helicopter, that doesn't happen, right? But if you take that feature away from it, and the feature that allows it to go up to 65,000 feet, which again, you don't get helicopters that go 65,000 feet.
No.
That's way above any other jets. It's almost space basically, and they kind of comment on that in an episode. But let's just assume it can go quite high. You could imagine it scanning things the way it scans, moving the way it does, guns on it that fires the way it does. Everything else is, you can imagine a government organisation creating prototype weaponry, because they did.
Yeah, well, that's the point I was just going to make. It kind of came in, the show came on the backdrop of like the Cold War, and like the high-tech spy planes and spy craft and high-altitude spying craft, and you know, that's when they were breaking speed records with planes and helicopters and things. So it kind of came 50s. Around. Yeah,
I mean,
that as well,
when was Bluebird? Was that 50s or 60s? 60s maybe.
60s.
But that was like 20 years previous to Airwolf, and they were doing what Airwolf's doing, higher than anything, faster than anything, with scanning technology. I mean, if you've never looked at the Bluebird stuff, it was at Roswell, the Roswell Air Base. It was all secretive, not because of aliens, but because of the fact that they did until not very recently as well. They still tested all their military planes and new jets there. And this one, if you look at some of the ground pictures they took of like Russia and that in the Middle East, the pictures are immense. And this was in the 50s. Can you imagine what you can do now? You could probably read someone's wristwatch, if that, and closer now.
Yeah,
from
they
that
talk
way.
about satellites reading number plates and all sorts now, don't they?
Weird. But anyway, so Airwolf, you could believe it.
Yeah.
That's something you didn't really have with a lot of the contemporaries. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But even like the A-Team's completely fiction. You'd never believe that was going to happen. It would never happen. Knight Rider a little bit, but certainly jumping cars and the AI at the time was just not there. So that was kind of unbelievable. It was futuristic. Whereas Airwolf was a lot more...
That was probably too futuristic, whereas Airwolf was
closer.
Believable and closer, wasn't it?
And the other thing is, again, it was the 80s. There was no CGI. So when you saw Airwolf doing these aerial manoeuvres, you know, having had stalls and whatever, it was doing them for the most part. I know Ernest Borgnine talked once about the pilots and things, and he said, they did take us up flying, you know, over the Atlantic or whatever. Not the Atlantic, Pacific. West Coast, Pacific, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pacific Coast Highway, of course it is. So over the Pacific, and he says, in helicopters, and we're doing the loops.
Yeah.
So you got really good stunt pilots
We spoke recently, didn't we, and said that Dwight Schultz, when there was an interview with him where he was talking about how crazy the stunt chopper pilots they had and the amazing things they could do. Yeah, probably the same group of people again, yeah.
And now a word about our sponsor. Are you looking to take your business or idea online? Then Namespace has you covered. From personal websites, e-commerce and fully managed IT services, see what Namespace can do for you today at namespace.rocks.
As the series went on, the popularity of it waned a little bit, and they wanted to get the ratings up. So I've talked about they wanted to make it more of a family show. So they introduced a new character called Caitlin O'Shaughnessy, played by Jean Bruce Scott, who coincidentally and sadly is the only one left still alive of the main cast of Airwolf, not counting series 4, which we'll come to later.
Yeah.
So series 1 to 3. And she was meant to be the young, sort of sprightly. She was a highway patrol chopper pilot, and she comes working for Santini and becomes part of the Airwolf crew.
Yeah. And again, comparison with the A-Team, they did a similar thing with brought a woman in, didn't they, to work with the team.
I mean, they kind of did that in the beginning, and that phased out.
Yeah.
This is the other way around.
Yeah.
But it just didn't work. They moved away. They got a little bit more light-hearted in it and stuff like that. The show did have its issues behind the scenes. Jan-Micheal Vincent did have substance abuse issues, drinking problems. I say luckily he had like an eidetic memory, photographic memory, so he could literally skim the script and he knew it.
Yeah.
So at least you had that. He'd come on and know everybody, know the lines and stuff, and you could tell sometimes that it was not 100%. But in the earlier series, it probably added to his performance as this hurt and damaged ex-war vet who has lost his brother.
Yeah.
The character of Stringfellow Hawk is one that he feels like everyone that gets close to him dies.
Yeah.
His parents died, his brother's gone MIA. The only person that hasn't died is Dominic Santini. So, which is why it's his only mate. It's his only friend. But they lightened it up towards the end. And they skipped over a few things, like this is a high-tech helicopter. So in the beginning, there were a lot more, with the rules, were a lot more stringent, like to engage the thrusters, you had to disengage that, you had to engage this. You're propelling to Mach 1, it's like a jet. You need to be trained to fly it, otherwise you can't do it. Later on, you didn't need to do any of that rubbish, and Caitlin and Dominic were flying it all the time. So they kind of, oh, it's all right, just press the button and we go. And they all of a sudden they can fly this supersonic jet chopper.
And like 8 stages turn into one button.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And again, we let that go because we like it. And the fact they can fly it, you just kind of say, well, he trained them to fly it.
Yeah, fair enough.
It keeps the story moving.
That's true.
And I know that any Airwolf fans out there will say there's also a lot of other things, like when they were flying, sometimes they had guns out when they didn't have a mount and things like that. But that's just continuity. When you've got a helicopter back in the day flying around on such a tight schedule, you can't always just come, because they bolted the guns on when they did them sequences. They didn't actually pop out. It was a model that they used for little pieces for popping out. But they bolted them on, and they couldn't fly over populated areas with the guns out, obviously, in case someone looked up and saw the helicopter with guns.
Attack helicopter with guns ready to fire.
Oh no! So I get that. The continuity with that, we kind of let it go a bit.
Yeah.
The way they mix the on set in the helicopter stuff with the exterior shots was really good. Apart from the guns, I thought the way they matched it, and it was just little things like, you've got a shot where the helicopter's banking right, and you'd see Hawk, and he'd move the yoke, it's his yoke, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whatever. He'd move the stick, but you'd see him like look at the left because he's looking left as it's banking.
Yeah.
Right as it's banking right. Just little things like that made it just like a little bit more realistic.
When he was in the set, just to sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
And that's cool. I like that.
Did the actors receive actual training from, professionals?
I would imagine. I don't know, but I would imagine that all that they went up with the helicopter pilots anyway. We know this because Ernest Borgnine's talked about the fact they went up with them. So I'd imagine they'd show them how to sit and what to do.
Yeah.
Because you get shots where the actors get into the helicopter and it flies off. So obviously, you know, you've got the other pilot in there flying it.
Yeah.
So they know how to sit and how to act.
Yeah, procedure and protocol, they've got to know that.
And
a little bit,
actually,
haven't
a
they?
lot of the shots of them sat there is basically from here upwards, because that's the window. And
Yeah.
the actual set of the helicopter they built on the soundstage didn't have glass in, so they just put the cameras through. So they built the interior cabin, and then they had cameras in. So you didn't really see a lot of what they were doing on their feet or with the stick, or, you know, or the collective, because that's down here.
Oh, that's smart. That is. They could be doing anything.
Yeah. So what
Yeah.
they did is it cut to a picture of that. Well, that could have been anyone sat there, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could actually have a pilot sat there doing all the close-up stuff. Whether they did or it was them, that's one thing I don't know, and no one's ever asked me.
So, like, talk about the three of them. Like, I've seen a couple of episodes of the A-Team. I've seen a couple of episodes of Knight Rider.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any episodes of Airwolf, and
You know what we're doing after this, don't you?
oh dear, I've tried to write in it now, haven't I?
Oh no, I've just remembered, I've seen it all.
But it also just like from pop culture and being like, you know, paying attention for the past like 20 plus years. Dare I say it's got less of a cultural footprint than Knight Rider and A-Team.
I would definitely say that's true.
Mm.
Yeah, probably.
They made an A-Team film. You know, they rebooted Knight Rider, or tried to, in 2009.
Yeah.
Didn't work. There's been nothing about Airwolf, and you're right. Maybe it has, but it's one of those. It's one of those where the following's quite strong. You see videos now on TikTok and stuff of people doing RC planes.
Yeah, I
and they've built
sent
massive
it. Yeah.
Airwolf helicopters that they still
nice.
fly around. There's tons of videos on there of them doing that. You know, they're still making the models. There was someone bought a Bell 222, and I can't remember if it flew or not, but they redid the outside exterior and they made it an exact replica of Airwolf. And to be honest, until it was actually in the Tennessee Museum of Aviation. I don't know if it's still there. Let us know in the comments if it's still
Yeah,
there.
if you've been,
So you could go and have a look at it. I thought it would be really nice if they could mock up the interior as well. That'd be fantastic. There was a non-flying version on Airwolf that they used in the lair, because obviously Hawk had the helicopter and hidden it in Valley of the Gods, and he had like this a bit of a mountain he could drop into a tunnel and know, you know. Anyway, and in there they had like a non-flying version that would just lift up a little bit, and that's it. So I don't know this. I'm sure the model they made didn't. I'm sure the replica doesn't fly, but don't quote me on that. I was following it when he was building it. I didn't realise it had already been done till I was looking at the research for this.
Yeah, but certainly the RC radio controlled ones that was on TikTok recently were very impressive. When people built and flew around,
Yeah.
and they were really good.
There's lots we can say about this. There's tons we can say about this, and I'll go into a bit of detail on a few bits on the Did You Knows. But all in all, I mean, I love this series. I think I loved series 1 to 3. Now, I said I'd come to series 4.
Oh.
We're going to skim over this very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. So they did make 55 episodes of Airwolf. Okay. Series 4, however, it was like 20 episodes. They were already written when the cast came in to do them, and it was not the cast that I've mentioned. So production moved to Canada. They did not have access to the actual helicopter, because at that point Jetcopters has sold it off to a German air ambulance department. And it was an air ambulance in Germany. At least it was until it crashed in a lightning storm in '92 and killed all 3 passengers on board. So the actual helicopter doesn't exist anymore. It crashed. That could have been a Did You Know? I keep giving all the trivia away. We're going to get to the Did You Know, and you're going to say, actually, the original helicopter was...
It was actually salvaged and restored, and is now in Smithsonian.
It is, in fact, every UFO sighting since 1992
This
is
is
Airwolf. I forgot where I was going now. Where was I going
Well,
with this?
I think that might be a good time to refresh and flush through our minds and maybe go over for a quiz.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what? That's a good idea because I can rest my voice slightly.
Yes, and
Yes. For those that don't know, Mr. Jethro has thrown down the gauntlet at the beginning of this series to see who has the most geeky mind, myself or Mr. Dave.
yes, indeed.
So he's doing a quiz every show pod, and we'll see who wins. And at the end of the series, the person with the least amount of wins has to do a forfeit.
Yes, we're going to work out what that
Still
is.
coming after you, Dave. Still coming after you. Let's go and see what Mr. Jethro has got for us today.
So, gentlemen, we're ready for this episode's quiz.
Maybe.
Yes.
We'll give it a go. See how we go.
I've lost all track of who's winning, where we are, or anything. So let's see what happens.
Okay, question number 1. Name me a US president who has claimed to have seen a UFO. There are 2 answers for this.
Jimmy Carter.
Correct.
It had to be one of the older ones. All the newer ones have been on interviews quite within the last 5-10 years and all said, we can't say anything. Who was the other?
Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan, again, had to be one of the old ones.
Question number 2. Which has more episodes? A-Team, Knight Rider or Airwolf?
Oh, you little...
Yep.
The A-Team.
Correct. A-Team had 98, Knight Rider had 90, Airwolf had 79.
I was going to say Knight Rider.
Question number 3. What are the Romulan secret police called?
Tel Shah.
Correct. Question number 4. What year were all humans last on Earth?
Oh, it's going to be closest one, Dave, I think, on this one. So I'm going to go for... $19. 59.
1959. What are you going with, Dave?
I'm going to go with 1880.
2000.
Hey?
That was the launch of the International Space Station, and ever since then there have been at least one person on the station, which is technically not on Earth because it's above a certain height.
Yeah, but didn't Yuri Gagarin technically leave the Earth?
Yeah, but he came back. Question number 5. What do the letters in TARDIS mean? I think Mr. P got that after a bit of stumbling.
Thank you very much. It's time and relative, either dimension or dimensions in space, depending on which who published it.
Yeah, go on then. Question number 6. What 1989 film was the first to receive a 12 rating in the UK?
Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Nope.
I think it's the wrong year, but I'm going to chuck it in anyway. Superman 4.
No.
Because it's late 80s and it had Nuclear Man, and I just figured that would probably be 12A.
Batman.
Yes.
Oh, good call. Good call.
It just clicked then.
Question number 7. What is the radioactive half-life of carbon-14?
That's not funny. Well, I'm going to guess because I have no idea. 2.6 billion years.
No.
No.
200,000 years.
Well, it's 5,730 years, so I'll give that to you with closest wins.
I was way out there, wasn't I?
Question number 8. Who played Hemmer in Strange New Worlds?
Oh dear. This is going to be a Star Trek question that I'm going to get wrong because I have no idea. I cannot remember his name. So I'm out. I can't remember.
Searching.
Bruce Hordak.
Correct.
Oh!
Okay, question number 9. How many kilograms are in a gram?
0.001.
Yeah. Glad you didn't stumble into my trap there.
I know. All the people from my teaching days now are watching this going, if you get this wrong, you are so actually going to get slaughtered in the comments. Oh, I had to think about that then. I'm like, hang on, he said that the wrong way around.
Question number 10. When did the film The Thing from Another World come out?
I'm going to go with a silly, sneaky guess. 1956.
$1948.
That would make Dave closer because it was 1951.
Oh, I went 50s. I went too late in the 50s.
You got 5 each.
Oh, I thought I'd pitch it at the post there.
It's a tiebreaker.
Do we have a tie-break question?
You're going to have to. Tie-break question.
You're making it up, aren't you? You haven't prepped one, have you?
I have.
Oh, okay.
Fair enough, let you go.
How many Apollo missions landed on the moon?
4.
No.
Oh! Oh, of course not. Oh, God. Oh, come on, Dave, I've just gave you the answer. Oh, unbelievable. Can I buzz in again?
It's going to have to go to Dave now.
Oh, come on. The look on Jethro's face when I said that, and then I realised what I'd said. He's like, oh. Oh.
2.
Can I buzz in again?
Yeah, go on then.
3. No, what? What am I doing? No, hang on. I thought the last one was 14. Am I wrong?
No, they went up to 17.
Did they?
Alright, yeah.
Dave, your turn.
4.
I said 4. Right, it's my turn, yes? Right, this is it. Okay. Seven. 8. 9. 10.
Dave?
Oh, you know what? I think we've realised from this we have a gap in our actual space knowledge. Give us warp plasma conduits any day of the week. Oh, or producers of James Bond films.
6.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that many.
11,
I didn't.
12, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Because 13 didn't. I
I thought I just counted. I counted wrong.
You counted wrong.
I know, I knew that, and I counted wrong because I was counting down.
14.
17, 16, 15,
16.
14. I missed 13, 12, 11, which is 6. Did I say 6?
No.
Oh, I miscounted. I completely
You said
miscounted.
7.
I completely miscounted. Don't worry. Because I thought it was 14 for some reason, but it's not. I read some stuff recently about Apollo 14, which I think was way in my head.
Right, with that, Dave wins this round.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Well done, Mr. Dave.
Oh, thank you very much.
Another one in the Mr. Dave column. I know what
Yeah.
you're thinking. What's that done to the graph?
There's a graph.
We haven't got the money for that yet.
Right.
We'll have to leave it a few episodes.
We'll leave it and we'll come back to that. That's where Jethro thinks, crap, should I have made a graph?
Yeah. Did you get the memo about building it 3 weeks ago?
You know, at this point, I have to honestly say, I have no idea who's winning.
Well, I can do a graph once I get a whiteboard.
Just wants his whiteboard.
I'd
doesn't
stipulate there's a
Yeah.
whiteboard needed.
I'm going to hold it hostage.
That's a bit of an in-joke because Mr. Jethro really wants a whiteboard here so he can show us things.
If you'd like to send us one,
Oh,
send it to the address below.
we will sort a whiteboard out for you, Jethro.
To be fair, like, who doesn't like a whiteboard?
That's true, actually. I do like the
Mm.
whiteboard. Do we get to write on it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, we'll get a
Yeah,
whiteboard.
fair
We'll get a
enough.
whiteboard.
What's the point of that? It's like the whole saying, like, you can't have your cake and eat it. Well, you can't eat a cake that you don't have.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's a stupid thing, really, to have your cake and not eat it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's just going to waste.
Yeah.
My problem at the minute is I'm eating too many cakes.
Right.
So I'd rather not
You
even
need,
have
you
the
need
cake.
your brain to stop telling you, yes, have
Yes,
the
go
cake,
on,
have
treat
the cake
yourself.
and eat it, have the cake and eat it.
Oh dear. Anyway,
Anyway.
we digress. Back to Airwolf, and I was refreshing my mind and my voice. So I've done a lot of talking this video.
Yes, unfortunately, it's been a very Mr. P centric episode, hasn't it?
You'll be happy to know the next one will not be.
What's that going to be on?
We'll come to that in a minute. But you'll see. You'll like it. You're gonna expect something really good.
Yes.
So Airwolf action adventure show. We've talked a little bit about it. Let's do a little bit of geeky trivia about this on the Did You Knows. I don't know if you guys have got any trivia.
No.
No. Have you got any trivia on Airwolf at all, Mr. That I've not already
nothing springs to mind.
Okay.
Actually.
I'm now thinking, crap, I think I've told you it all, but I'll see if I can try and come up with something else. I'm going to come out with... In fact, no, before we do that, let's just talk Series 4. Would you quickly, briefly go over Series 4?
Okay.
Console segments were held together with blue tack.
Probably, yeah, and sticky tape. So Series 4, they had a change up. Basically, they just completely changed it all. Jan-Micheal had obviously had these issues, and the ratings were quite low. So they thought we'll try and mix it up, but they only had like a third of the budget, which was terrible. They didn't have access to the actual flying helicopter, as we said just before the quiz. It went off to Germany. So they reused all the old footage. And they completely sort of retcon parts of the storyline by saying, String's brother is alive and been working in intelligence in South America, and now he's back. They kill off Santini in the first episode just with a pipe bomb gun, and String's injured. He's just enough time for him to tell him to sort of find his brother. His brother comes in and he finds out he's alive. Then String dies. They never mention Caitlin. She just disappears and they don't even talk about where she's gone. Archangel's just gone out and been replaced by some other guy, and it's now just the company, not the firm. And like I say, they moved production up to Canada on a third of the budget. So it was like
They were on a third of the budget.
they only had a third of the budget.
Oh, blimey now. Oh, no.
It was, I'm not going to say a naughty word, but I want to. It was very, very rubbish.
Right.
Yeah. Big step down.
The
by the sounds
old
of it.
scripts were pre-written before they got there. Michelle Scaravelli, who played Dominic's niece, who sort of helped, is one of the crew as well. She said they were all written, so there was no room for character development or for them to any leverage or movability with the script. They were already written. That was it. So it's just you go in, perform a monkey D job, and come out. I must admit, I don't even think I've seen every episode of Series 4.
Right. It was that
I
good.
can't remember a lot of them. I remember bits. It was not good. I have Series 1 to 3 because they're the good ones. You couldn't even buy Series 4 as part of that set. I think it's separate, or even, I don't even know it's been released. But anyway, trivia. So yeah, I've talked about the fact that the helicopter is now was an air ambulance and crashed. I've talked about the fact that we had an episode called Sweet Bridge, as I mentioned it earlier, with Lance Lee Gould, and he obviously guest starred. We had a stuntman die during that episode, doing a motorbike stunt, which was really quite bad. That's not really gossip or trivia, really. I just thought I'd throw that in there. I can't really think of anything else. All I can think of are the really cool parts of the episode that you think that's really good, like the episode where they drop it out the back of a plane. David Hemmings directed a few episodes. He's also directed some A-Team.
Yeah.
And he was in the pilot. He plays Moffat, the person who pinches it in the first place. And there's some really cool episodes, and it talks to like computer viruses, and we talked about AI recently as well. There's an episode called Moffat's Ghost where he's programmed it so if it doesn't receive a code from him, because he thinks he might die at some point, it basically goes haywire.
Right.
And that's a really cool episode, because their mission is pretty much to take a doctor, a physicist, to a secret meeting with lots of other people from around the world, physicists, who try and work on finding solutions to problems for the world, peaceful problems, bringing the world together. But they have to do it in secret. So Airwolf drops him off and picks him up. But they need Airwolf to do it, because otherwise they won't be able to get him there and bring him back. And of course they have to go. But the computer's on the blink, and the helicopter flies off on its own and starts shooting at things randomly. It shoots at airliners, passenger jets. It doesn't hurt any, because when they know what's happening, they strip it of its armaments and things. And there's a cool episode that we see exactly what it's capable of, because it flies up to the highest ceiling it can go. It then makes itself a target on NORAD for lots of the Russians and the Americans, so they're all going to fire at each other. The only way to do it is to literally shut the system off and let it fall out of the sky, which they do. And that's a really tense, butt cheek, sit on your chair moment. Is it going to crash?
Yeah.
We know it's not, but it's close.
Very much be a series-ending moment, that, wouldn't it?
Yeah. There's lots of really cool, fun episodes as well. I said it's quite serious, but once the camaraderie is established, it's quite nice as they go on a mission. And Dominic, I must say, Ernest Borgnine is fantastic in this show, and he develops this attachment to Airwolf like it's his baby. He's always looking after it, and that's really nice. I think anything Ernest Borgnine in is good, because he's such a great actor, and it comes across that he's such a warm, caring guy normally. Yeah. And I think that comes across.
Nice.
We've talked about what we would do if we had a reboot, and I've constantly said Airwolf would be fantastic for a reboot.
Do you think it would work better than a Knight Rider or A-Team reboot? Because you mentioned how you find it slightly dark in the past 20 years. We've had media's tried to get a bit more realistic, a bit more dark, so...
Maybe it would. When the series ended, it just ended. So the helicopter itself was never decommissioned or anything. The series just stopped.
So it could just carry on from that, or carry on a new team, a new story.
Yeah, I'd love for them to simply pick it up, a bit like what they did with the 2009 Knight Rider reboot. They did it the first episode, the pilot. They basically had David Hasselhoff as Michael Knight hand over to the new one. They then went a bit weird in the story, and we talked about this on the thing, that it went a bit crap. But the pilot was really good. And if they did that sort of thing with Airwolf, you could have Jean Bruce Scott as Caitlin, still knocking about, maybe knowing what's happened to it. And you can have them trying to fight the government. It had been buried long since gone now, probably everyone's forgotten about it, but you could have some young person finds a file about it somewhere, tries to find it, tracks her down. She claims to know nothing about it, but she really does, and she's been maintaining it since, and even upgrading it, I suppose. I don't think aesthetically, I think the look should stay exactly the same. I think the computers inside could be upgraded, and then we could start a whole new continuation with her in the role as sort of senior supervisor for the handover. That would be really cool. I don't think a reboot. Let's not have a reboot. Let's just have someone else come in. Yeah, more of a continuation. We can even have if you really want to have that connection, you could have, and not like they did with Series 4, but you could have some kind of connection to the original team. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'd like to see a Bell 222 as Airwolf flying around on the screens again. If you listen.
Yeah, would be good.
We've said this over the last few years, Dave. We come out with ideas, and
then they arrive.
Let's have this happen.
Yeah,
that'd be really cool.
It would be nice.
What we're going to do, I think, is just before we finish, because I've talked a lot about this. That's not important. Anything you want to ask me? Because I could talk about this all day, and I could go through all the episodes and what I like about them and funny things that happened. But
did you think any of the stunts with the helicopter were like James Bond-esque? I know you mentioned the one earlier with the helicopter dropping out of the plane and things.
I mean, that was never done properly. They used a model, obviously. Yeah. They used a bit of model work, so they did use RC and model work. Most of the time, though, when you saw the helicopter doing something, it was actually doing it for most of the time. And I think because of that, it added something to it. And they filmed it in a very clever way. Look at the first Top Gun film, right? The jets they used were just flying proper jets, but they filmed it from the top of a mountain, and they'd have the jet fly up the mountain. So you get these really good close-up shots of jets, and it looks like they're really high in the sky because you're just filming upwards from a mountain. When they're not, they're probably only a couple hundred feet off, or whatever it was, off the deck. So with Airwolf, the way they filmed a lot of it was quite clever to make it look like, you know. And the stunt people, oh my God, hats off to them again. I keep saying this, not just because of the fantastic things they did in the sky, but the amount of times it was so close to the ground or the water was ridiculous. Now on the back of the helicopter, you've got the tail rotor, and you've got like a guard like that sticks out. And there's an episode called, in fact, it's the same one. It's Sweet Britches. And Airwolf comes down really closely and does that. And when you've got those close-up shots, the actual main propeller, main rotor, is probably only about that far off at floor. They were so close. And when it comes around, you see the back. It nearly catches the guard on the floor as it comes around. Honestly, the pilot that flew that, or pilots that flew the actual helicopter, was so good.
It sounds dangerous, because you said that someone died.
Well, that wasn't in a helicopter, that was on a motorbike.
Okay.
There's an episode in, it's the same episode, Sweet Britches, where there's a guy that's on a motorbike, and Lanceley Galt is following him in a Jeep, and he has to go off a ravine. And I'm sure when he falls off the ravine on the bike, that's where it happened, but don't quote me on that. Right. If it's a different one, someone will tell me in the comments, but I'm sure it's that one. No, it's not called. Is it called Sweet Britches?
You're not sure, are you?
No, it's Daddy's Gone Hunting. Sweet Britches is the one where Airwolf go. No, I'm mixing them both up. Don't matter. Right, we're going to watch them tonight. It's all good. You'll know later. So,
right.
Look.
Was it 55 episodes you saw? You said.
It is, but we're not watching all 55. Unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll be here for like 3 days. Yeah.
What 3 days it is?
So, what a 3 days.
What a 3 days. Yeah, so Airwolf, fantastic. It needs to be watched. It's my favourite out of the three. You guys, I'm sure, will agree when you watch it, won't you?
Well,
yes.
I've seen some when I've watched some more.
I apologise. This has just been me basically rambling about Airwolf. If you've got any questions about Airwolf you want to ask me about, please put them in the comments, and I will gladly answer them. I will do a video and ask them all, and I will bore you all to sleep on YouTube at a different point. However, let's just take a moment to look forward.
Yes.
Okay. Not back. Forward.
Forward.
It's like dating. Not thinking about an ex. We're looking forward. Now we've dropped a few hints as to what we're actually talking about next time. We've said X several times. In fact, we've got pictures here and here that might give away the fact. Yeah, just there. Well, Gillian Anderson over there
and poster.
And David, what's his face? Duchovny. I know his name. I'm just poking fun. And I want to believe poster is up there at the corner. Next time, we are going to be talking, or at least I'm going to be asking a few questions, and these guys are going to be telling me all about the X-Files.
For a minute there, he was going to say, I'm going to be listening.
Well,
no, you're going to be talking. I'm going to be listening.
I'm going to be listening to you talk about X-Files, because I've never really seen much of it. A few episodes, that's it. I'm pretty much, it's going to, roles reversed next time.
Yeah.
So we've got that to look forward to, and we've got look forward to, and we have got to look forward to me hopefully trying to claw some points back on the quiz.
On the next quiz, yes.
Quiz. I couldn't have said it better myself.
So we'll find out exactly where we are. However, we've run out of time.
We have.
Because my tea is now at the end of it, and I need to refill it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's tea time.
So go grab a cup of tea and go look through our previous content. You can find all our links at geekyguys.co.uk. And we'll see you next time.